The story of little Zach Shaw, who last week was tragically crushed and eaten by his pet python.
A chimp attack back in February ripped off part of a woman's face, and on today's Oprah Winfrey Show, Charla Nash revealed some of the damage.
Humans are emotional creatures, and it is fairly natural for us to share a deep bond with animals. However, one must not let compassion cloud one's judgment. Many creatures, no matter how familiar or seemingly tame, are unpredictable and capable of inflicting the most serious harm. Even animals bred in captivity or raised by humans can retain instincts and behaviors that are far beyond our control. Wild beasts, with their primal instincts, are particularly dangerous when provoked or stressed, and even domestic pets can turn aggressive in certain situations. Today, we'll see how such situations play out as we explore 15 pets that ate their owners right in front of everyone. Let's get started. Number 15. The killer python. 6-year-old Connor and 4-year-old Noah were lively, adventurous boys and had an inherent curiosity about the natural world. Their excitement was palpable when invited to a sleepover at their neighbor's home, owned by Jean-Claude Savoy, who operated an exotic pet store. This wasn't their first time visiting the home, as they often played with Savoy's son and were thrilled by the menagerie of animals under his care. On this particular visit, the boys spent their day holding snakes, playing with farm animals, and even enjoying a tractor ride. As the night settled, they made sleeping arrangements in the living room, eager for another day of adventure. Little did they know that the night would take a deadly turn. In the adjacent room, a 14-foot, 100-pound African rock python was housed. This apex predator was and is illegal to own in Canada without special permits. Despite warnings from fellow reptile enthusiasts, Savoy had failed to secure the vent above the snake's enclosure. He underestimated the creature's ability to contract its muscles and navigate narrow spaces, particularly when unfed and driven by hunger. Tragically, the snake managed to escape through the ventilation system, slithering into the room where the boys slept. It fell from the ceiling onto the sleeping brothers, mistaking them for food. By the time Savoy discovered the scene in the early hours, it was too late. The tragedy devastated their family and also sparked global outrage and debates about exotic animal ownership. The African rock python in question was euthanized shortly after, with the attending veterinarian describing the animal as unusually aggressive. Following this, Savoy was charged with criminal negligence causing death. During the trial, it was revealed that he had been explicitly warned to cover the vent, but had delayed, believing the snake was too large to escape. 3 years of emotional court battles culminated in a guilty verdict. Tragic, right? Well, this is far from the only instance when pets turned violent. Number 14. Dog breeder mauled by pet wolf dogs. Sandra Pioverson, a 50-year-old resident of Pennsylvania, tragically lost her life in 2006 after being attacked by a pack of dogs she had kept as pets. The dogs, a group of 9 wolf dog hybrids, were animals Pioverson had bred and cared for over the years. Pioverson saw them as members of her family. However, wolf dogs are known to exhibit unpredictable behavior due to their genetic mix, which combines traits of domestic dogs with the instincts of wild wolves. This blend can lead to challenges in training, socialization, and behavior management. On the day of the incident, Pioverson entered the enclosure where the animals were kept. Exactly what triggered the attack is unclear, but what we do know is that the pack's behavior turned deadly, resulting in Pioverson being fatally injured. After the attack, authorities were forced to euthanize the animals due to safety concerns. The incident reignited debates about the legality and ethics of owning wolf dog hybrids, which are restricted or banned in many regions. Advocates for stricter laws argue that hybrids often fall into a gray area of regulation, being neither fully wild nor entirely domesticated. Number 13. Brutally assaulted by chimpanzee. Jerome and Sandra Herold, a couple from Stamford, Connecticut, sought solace from their empty nest by adopting Travis, a chimpanzee purchased as an infant for $50,000 in 2003. Travis became more than a pet. He was their surrogate child, sharing meals at the table, wearing clothes, and even brushing his teeth. His intelligence and charm made him a local celebrity. He was beloved by neighbors and could even operate a computer, watch TV, and even feed the horses. Despite Travis's domesticated demeanor, Experts repeatedly warned Sandra about the risks of keeping an adult chimpanzee. These warnings, compounded by the death of Jerome in 2004, were ignored by Sandra, who was consumed by grief and unwilling to part with the companion who had brought joy into her life. However, over time, Travis began exhibiting changes in behavior, likely exacerbated by his unnatural living conditions and Sandra's deteriorating mental health. On February 16, 2009, this underlying volatility erupted into a horrific attack. That morning, Sandra noticed Travis behaving strangely, refusing his favorite treats and exhibiting agitation. Concerned, she called her close friend Charla Nash for help. Charla, familiar with Travis from previous visits, arrived with a red Tickle Me Elmo toy, hoping to calm him. However, the sight of the toy triggered an uncontrollable rage in Travis. He attacked Charla viciously. Sandra tried desperately to intervene. Despite her efforts, Travis continued his attack, leaving Charla severely mutilated and unconscious. Sandra, fearing for her life, retreated to her car and called 911 in a state of utter panic. When police arrived, they found Travis covered in blood and acting aggressively. He charged at the officers, forcing them to shoot him in self-defense. Fatally injured, Travis retreated into the house and succumbed to his wounds. Charla Nash survived the attack, but was left profoundly disfigured, blind, and with a long road to recovery. She later underwent a groundbreaking face transplant surgery and has become an advocate for laws that prevent the private ownership of dangerous wildlife. This was wild, right? Well, so was the pet in this next entry. Number 12. Woman killed by her pet bear. In 2009, Kellyanne Waltz, a Pennsylvania resident with a passion for exotic animals, tragically lost her life in a harrowing incident involving her pet black bear, Teddy. Waltz was known in her community for keeping several wild animals, including a Bengal tiger and an African lion. She had raised Teddy since he was a cub, and thus felt at ease with him. Things went well for years, but on that fateful day, when Waltz entered Teddy's enclosure to perform routine cleaning, the inevitable happened. Her children and a neighbor were nearby, and watched in horror as a fully grown Teddy, without warning, attacked her, pinning her to the ground. The neighbor and Waltz's children frantically tried to intervene, using loud noises and objects in an attempt to distract the bear and rescue her. Despite their desperate efforts, the bear's immense size and natural predatory instincts rendered them powerless to subdue him. In a final bid to save Waltz, the neighbor retrieved a firearm and shot Teddy. Unfortunately, the attack had already inflicted fatal injuries on Waltz, and she succumbed to her wounds before she could be saved. This tragedy ignited a broader conversation about the dangers of keeping exotic and wild animals as pets. Experts and animal advocates highlighted that, regardless of their upbringing or the duration of captivity, wild animals retain their natural instincts. Number 11. Struck by a venomous serpent. Aletta Stacy, a dedicated reptile enthusiast from Putnam Lake, New York, harbored a passion for snakes that led her to curate an extensive collection of over 70 reptiles. Among them was a black mamba, a species infamous for its lethality and temperamental nature. Black mambas are among the most venomous snakes in the world, their bites capable of delivering a rapid and often fatal dose of neurotoxic venom. Keeping such a creature, even for experienced herpetologists, is a significant challenge. Despite repeated warnings from her peers and experts, Stacy maintained an intense attachment to her pets. The danger of her hobby became tragically apparent one day when her boyfriend found her unconscious at home. The black mamba had escaped its enclosure. The snake bit Stacy on her forearm, and despite the immediate recognition of the bite's gravity, time was not on her side. Black mamba venom works with terrifying speed, paralyzing the nervous system and shutting down critical functions. Although emergency medical personnel acted swiftly, administering antivenom and other treatments, the venom's devastating effects left little hope for survival. Stacy succumbed to the bite within hours. Number 10. Attacked by a hippo. Marius Els, who lived in the Free State province in South Africa, had raised Humphrey, his pet hippo, from the age of 5 months. Over the years, Els developed a deep attachment to the hippo, treating him more like a family member than a wild animal. As the years went by, Humphrey, all grown up, now weighed over 1,200 kilograms or 2,645 pounds. Els would often describe the hippo as like a son, and even swam with Humphrey. He would even allow the hippo to roam freely on his property. Photographs of Els riding on the hippo's back were widely circulated, reinforcing the public's fascination with their unusual bond. However, in November 2011, Humphrey's wild instincts tragically surfaced. The details of the attack remain unclear, but it is believed that Humphrey turned on Els, fatally injuring him in the process. His body was later discovered in a river on his property. Humphrey was subsequently euthanized. A tragic ending indeed. Number 9. The bewildered monitor lizard. Ronald Huff, a devoted reptile enthusiast, had a particular fascination with monitor lizards. These formidable reptiles, native to various parts of the world, are apex predators in their habitats. Their aggressive nature and potent venom make them unsuitable for most as pets, yet Huff was undeterred by the inherent dangers. Over time, he accumulated a collection of 7 monitor lizards. Huff's passion for these exotic animals eventually led to a tragic outcome. His neighbors became alarmed after not hearing from him for an extended period. Concerned for his well-being, one of his neighbors requested a welfare check from the local authorities. When sheriff's deputies arrived at Huff's home, they encountered an unsettling scene. They knocked on the door but received no response, though strange noises could be heard from within. Suspecting something was amiss, the officers forced their way inside, only to discover a gruesome and horrifying sight. Huff was found collapsed against the door. Tragically, his monitor lizards were discovered crawling over his lifeless body. Investigators determined that Huff had likely fallen ill or suffered a sudden medical emergency. In his weakened state, he may have been unable to control the behavior of his lizards. One or more of the animals may have attacked him, inflicting injuries that may have contributed to his death. The exact circumstances remain unclear, but the presence of such dangerous animals in close proximity undeniably exacerbated the risks Huff faced. Number 8. Pig farmer, eaten by his own animals. In 2012, Terry Vance Garner, a 69-year-old farmer from Oregon, was known for his devotion to animal husbandry and his particular affection for his pigs. Garner had been tending to his hogs on his coastal farm for years, but that fateful day, when he entered the hog enclosure as part of his routine care, he never returned. When family members came searching for him, they found his partially consumed remains within the pen. Authorities initially speculated that he might have suffered a heart attack or stroke. It is also conceivable that Garner was accidentally knocked down by one or more of the pigs. Pigs, like many other animals, possess natural scavenging instincts which might have been triggered by the situation. Under stressful conditions or when presented with a vulnerable prey-like scenario, pigs may engage in behaviors that appear shocking to humans. Hogs, often underestimated due to their familiarity as farm animals, can display powerful and sometimes dangerous behaviors. Farmers and animal handlers are encouraged to maintain safety precautions, such as ensuring they have a means of escape and avoiding entering pens alone, especially when dealing with large or unpredictable animals. Number 7. Mauled by pet lion. In the tranquil expanse of Hammond, South Africa, nestled just 30 miles north of the vibrant city of Johannesburg, lies the Mahala View Lion Game Lodge. Offering serene accommodation with sweeping views of the surrounding bush and the neighboring Doornkloof Game Reserve, the lodge was a sanctuary of peace for visitors seeking respite from the demands of city life. It was here that Leon van Biljon, known as the Lion Man, spent his life creating a bond with some of the world's most magnificent creatures. The lodge became famous as the home to his 3 pet lions, Rambo, Katrine, and Nikita. Leon bought 3 lion cubs in 2006, bonding with them on a deep personal level. He even slept in their enclosure. For years, the lions were tame, responding to Leon's presence with affection, yet they were always wild at their core, as any predator should be. In his 70s, Leon decided to retire and put the lodge up for sale. But his final day at the lodge came not in peace, but in a tragic and unexpected turn of events. On the morning of August 20th, 2019, Leon, as was his habit, entered the lion enclosure to inspect a section of the fencing that needed repair. As he had done so many times before, Leon turned his back to the lions and crouched down to inspect the broken fence. In a split second, one of the lions, perhaps sensing Leon's vulnerability, launched itself at him. With lightning speed, It pounced on his back, its massive jaws closing around his throat. Leon was caught completely off guard, unable to react in time. His cry for help was heard by staff members who rushed to the scene, but it was already too late. The first lion was shot and killed immediately by staff members who arrived at the scene, and a second lion was also killed shortly after. But the third lion remained in the enclosure, blocking their access to Leon. Despite the presence of emergency services, there was nothing that could be done. The third lion was eventually shot to allow paramedics to reach Leon, but by the time they arrived, Leon had already succumbed to his injuries. In the aftermath of his death, his family found solace in the fact that Leon had dedicated his life to conservation and education. His work had touched many, and his legacy continued to inspire those who had visited the lodge and learned from him about the importance of preserving wildlife. Number 6. The bewildered wildebeest. Klaus Dick Radant, a seasoned animal lover with a history of caring for exotic and wild animals, decided to bring a baby wildebeest into his home. Along with the wildebeest, he kept a variety of other unusual pets, including llamas, emus, reindeer, and ostriches. To Klaus, this was not an unusual decision. His experience with raising wild animals had given him a deep attachment to them. The young wildebeest, like many growing creatures, displayed occasional bursts of energy and hyperactivity. However, Klaus viewed these outbursts as typical juvenile behavior, dismissing any concerns as part of the animal's normal development. As the wildebeest matured, its behavior grew more intense. The animal's excitement seemed to escalate with age, and Klaus took steps to increase his bond with the creature by introducing a female wildebeest. The successful birth of a baby wildebeest further strengthened his connection to them, but the stage was set for a dangerous escalation. On December 5, 2004, Klaus ventured to the barnyard where his wildebeests were kept. His wife, initially thinking he had stepped out for a walk or run errands, became concerned when he failed to return by noon. After repeated failed attempts to contact him, she decided to check on him. She found Klaus lying on the ground, severely injured and unresponsive. Emergency services were immediately called, but despite their best efforts, Klaus tragically succumbed to his injuries. The subsequent investigation revealed that the incident was the result of an unexpected and violent encounter with his pet wildebeest. During the mating season, wildebeests can become especially aggressive, and in this case, the animal's heightened aggression was likely provoked by Klaus, though the specifics remain unclear. The wildebeest charged at Klaus repeatedly, causing severe trauma and ultimately death. Number 5. Eaten by pet tiger. Terry Thompson was an unconventional man, driven by a need for thrills. As a hardened Vietnam veteran, his life was full of high-speed escapades. He owned fast cars, boats, and even light aircraft, with no fear of pushing the limits. One of his most notable achievements was setting a world record with his boat, the Master Blaster. His life, marked by risk and adventure, seemed destined to end in a dramatic fashion, though no one could have anticipated the tragic events that unfolded in 2011. The story begins in 1977, when Terry purchased a tiger cub at an exotic animal auction as a birthday gift for his wife. The cub was named Simba, and what started as a seemingly innocent addition to their household quickly spiraled into something darker. Terry's life became intertwined with exotic animals. Lion cubs would lounge on his couches, cougars walked through his dining room, and bears and wolves would even ride alongside him in the footwells of his vehicles. By 2008, Terry's lifestyle caught the attention of law enforcement when he was incarcerated on gun charges. A raid on his property revealed the disturbing conditions in which he kept his animals. Tigers, cougars, wolves, bears, and baboons were confined to filthy, cramped pens, their well-being neglected. However, despite the appalling state of the animals, no laws in Ohio existed to prevent the ownership of such creatures, so Terry's collection remained unregulated. On October 18, 2011, Terry's neighbor, Sam Kopech, noticed something unusual. His horse was acting strangely, and as he looked over at Terry's property, he saw a black bear moving across the fields. At first, Sam thought little of it, but as the sighting became more bizarre, with lions and other exotic animals emerging, Sam knew something was terribly wrong. He quickly retreated to his barn and called 911, reporting the escape of a bear and lion from Terry's property. Police deputies, responding to the emergency, encountered a chaotic scene. A wolf had to be shot as it posed an immediate danger, and more animals, lions, tigers and bears, emerged from the woods and fields. Terry's property was home to 56 animals, and many of them had escaped into the surrounding area. With tranquilizer darts unavailable and the animals running wild, the police had no choice but to neutralize the threats with firearms. The zoo's capture team, arriving later, was unable to intervene due to the growing darkness, making the situation even more dire. When morning arrived, the true extent of the carnage became apparent. 50 animals had been killed, including 9 male lions, 8 lionesses, 18 tigers, 6 black bears, 2 grizzly bears, and even a baboon. The state of the animals' living conditions, filthy cages, cramped spaces, and general neglect revealed just how far Terry's once eccentric passion had spiraled into something far darker. But the most horrific discovery was yet to come. In the yard, beside the remains of his exotic animals, lay Terry Thompson's own body, devoured by the very creatures he had once cared for. Number 4. Killed by pet mountain lion. In Texas, the law permits the ownership of mountain lions, provided that the owner has the necessary permit, as well as up-to-date vaccinations and regular health checks for the animal. Amber Michelle Couch, however, neglected her responsibilities, leaving her pet mountain lion without the necessary vaccinations and care. Amber continued to house the mountain lion in a cramped cage, which only exacerbated its agitated and unpredictable behavior. Mountain lions, like many wild animals, are not accustomed to confinement, and a stressed, uncomfortable environment can amplify their aggression. The situation took a horrific turn when Amber's young nephew accidentally approached the cage. Feeling threatened or agitated, the mountain lion attacked the child. Though the boy survived, the attack resulted in a lengthy hospital stay for recovery. The authorities were immediately alerted to the incident, and in response, they seized the mountain lion from Amber's care. She was issued multiple citations for her negligence and was barred from owning pets until she could demonstrate proper care and adherence to legal standards. The mountain lion, deemed a threat to public safety due to its behavior, was ultimately euthanized. Tragedy all the way through. But moving on, are you scared of creepy crawlies? Number 3. Killed by spider. A 30-year-old German man, Mark Vogel, was infamous in his community not for any criminal activity, but for keeping over 200 insect and other creepy crawlies as pets. Many of these pets were spiders, with one in particular standing out for its deadly nature, the infamous black widow. Known for its potent venom, the black widow spider is one of the most dangerous arachnids in the world. The venom it injects can cause immediate severe reactions, including paralysis and even death, if not treated promptly. This is exactly what happened in this case. While he went about tending to his many arachnids, Vogel was bitten by the black widow. The venom began to take hold, but Vogel was unable to reach his phone or get help. Alone in his apartment, he succumbed to the effects of the bite. Months passed before anyone realized something was amiss. Neighbors, concerned by his sudden and prolonged absence, alerted authorities, prompting a well-being check. When police arrived and forced entry into Vogel's apartment, they were met with an unimaginable scene. His body was surrounded by his beloved spiders and insects. The scene was so grotesque and disturbing that the officers who first encountered it were paralyzed with shock. It took hours, with the assistance of animal control services, to clear the apartment of the surviving creatures. They were carefully captured and relocated to a conservation area where they could be properly rehabilitated. Number 2. Bit by pet monkey. Monkeys are often regarded as playful, entertaining creatures, beloved for their intelligence and curious nature. However, despite their charming antics, these animals can be unpredictable, and when their behavior takes a dangerous turn, the consequences can be fatal. This was tragically highlighted in the case of Nga Muhammad, a 72-year-old man from Malaysia who shared a deeply unique and affectionate bond with a pet monkey. For years, Nga and his monkey had been inseparable companions, carrying out daily tasks such as climbing coconut trees and retrieving coconuts. On one particular day, Nga set out to fulfill a promise to his 29-year-old son, Mauled Zakaria Nga, by gathering coconuts, as he often did. He lifted the monkey into the tree, expecting it to carry out its usual task. However, things went terribly wrong. Instead of behaving as it normally would, the monkey suddenly turned aggressive, attacking Nga without warning. In a shocking outburst, the monkey bit Nga's arm with such ferocity that it severed an artery, causing severe and life-threatening blood loss. Despite the severity of the injury, Nga did not survive the attack, and his life was tragically cut short. When Mauled noticed that his father had not returned from the usual coconut gathering and that the silence was unusual, he went outside to check. Upon discovering the horrific scene, he became the next target of the monkey's sudden aggression. Though he managed to survive the attack, he sustained injuries from the monkey's brutal assault. The neighbors, alarmed by the commotion and the strange silence, called the authorities to intervene. When the authorities arrived, they found the monkey still in the vicinity. It was captured and assessed by wildlife experts, who determined that the animal's behavior was an anomaly. Following the evaluation, it was decided that the monkey would undergo rehabilitation to reintegrate into the wild, rather than face further punishment. While monkeys can form strong bonds with humans and even be trained to perform tasks, their wild instincts remain intact, and their capacity for aggression can be triggered by stress, fear, or even a simple shift in routine. In the case of Nga, it seems that the monkey's behavior changed unexpectedly, perhaps due to a buildup of stress or environmental factors that no one could have predicted. Despite the deep connection some individuals feel toward their pet monkeys, the risks associated with housing such intelligent but wild creatures cannot be overstated. In Malaysia, as in many other countries, the practice of keeping exotic animals as pets continues to stir debate. While some may argue that the animals can be cared for in a manner that ensures their safety and that of the humans around them, this case demonstrates the inherent dangers of underestimating the unpredictable nature of wild animals. This was unexpected, right? Well, what do you think about birds? Are they dangerous? Well, if you think no, this next entry will change your mind. Number 1. The most dangerous bird in the world. Marvin Hajos, a 75-year-old from Texas, was a passionate breeder of exotic birds, including cassowaries, the most dangerous birds in the world. Over the years, he had become quite successful, managing to breed the first ostrich, emu, and cassowary hybrids in the United States. His expertise and hands-on experience with these animals seemed to protect him from the dangers others feared. However, his familiarity with cassowaries would not prevent the fatal accident that occurred one fateful day on his property. While observing the birds, Hajos tripped, causing a sudden movement that startled a nearby cassowary. The bird, perceiving Hajos as a threat, immediately launched a brutal attack. With terrifying precision, the cassowary's massive talons slashed at Hajos, severely injuring him. As the bird continued its relentless assault, the elderly man fought for his life. In a desperate attempt to get help, Hajos managed to grab his phone and call 911, his voice filled with panic and urgency. Rescue services arrived as quickly as possible, but they were met with another terrifying obstacle. The aggressive cassowary was still guarding its territory, preventing emergency responders from reaching Hajos. It took several tense minutes to separate the bird from the injured man. When Hajos was finally rushed to the hospital, the damage had been done. Despite the efforts of the medical team, it was too late. The injuries from the cassowary's attack had proven fatal, and Hajos passed away. While he had spent years working with them, his final moment underscores the unpredictable nature of these powerful creatures, whose aggression, once triggered, can be deadly even to those who think they understand them. Marvin Hajos's tragic story serves as a somber reminder of the fine line between fascination and danger when working with exotic animals. Despite his decades of experience and deep knowledge of cassowaries, even a seasoned expert could not completely mitigate the risks inherent to these creatures. The cassowary, often described as a living dinosaur due to its prehistoric appearance and formidable defenses, demands both respect and caution. Hajos's untimely death highlights the unpredictable nature of wildlife and the immense responsibility required to safely coexist with such animals. His legacy, however, lives on in his groundbreaking work with avian hybrids, inspiring future generations to study and protect these remarkable species with a deeper understanding of their behavior and habitats. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.